Testing, testing. Fred, can you hear us? Dave?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yep, thanks. Commissioner Hoover?
Yes. Yeah, everything's good at my end. So.
All right, great, thanks.
It is. It's 10 o'clock, and we are convenient. We have a number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 consent items and 4 administrative items. So let's start with the first 5 items that are very similar. Items number 1, 2, 3, and 4 are Wisconsin Power and Light Company. Item number 5 is Interstate Power and Light Company. The filing is to request for certification as a renewable energy facility. The motion is to approve the application. Wait, I always do this. Let's start by approving the minutes from the prior meeting. And is there any objection to approving the minutes from the prior meeting? Seeing none, the minutes are approved unanimously. All right, now, items 1 through 5. The motion is to approve the application and issue a renewable energy facility ID certification number with the understanding that the company will comply with all of the requirements of COMAR 20610202 and COMAR 20610302. Does any commissioner want to separate out one of those 5 items? Seeing no desire to do that, the motion before us is the one that I read. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no.
Aye.
The ayes seem to have it. The ayes have it. On to item number 6. I'll do them individually. Item number 6 is Potomac Edison. It's revised standard offer service rates for Type 2 customers, and I may as well read this. Its cases 9056, 9064, and case 8908. The motion is to accept the tariff revisions for the filing with an effective date of March 1. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Commissioner McLean. Aye. Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Hoover.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries unanimously. Item number 7, also Potomac Edison Company, revised SOS rates for residential customers. The same case numbers, 9056, 9064, 8908. The motion in this instance is to accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2026. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Hoover.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries unanimously. Item number 8, also Potomac Edison Company, revised tariff pages updating SOS time of use rates. This is case 9761. The motion is to accept the tariff revisions for filing with an effective date of June 1st, 2026. Any discussion? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Hoover.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries unanimously. Now, on to the administrative items. Item number 9 is St. Elmo Apartments LLC. It's an application for energy allocation system. The motion is to grant the company's request for approval to use the energy allocation system for the apartments located at 4924 24th Street, Elmo Avenue, Bethesda, Maryland. Any questions, discussion? Yeah, that would probably be really positive to have staff. It's incredible how the embedded habits of 32 years just don't get unlodged. Staff, please. Thank you.
Morning, Mr. Chair, Commissioners. Michael Spiegelman on behalf of staff. This item concerns a request filed on July 28, 2025 by St. Elmo Apartments LLC to install an energy allocation system. The system is for 276-unit apartment building located at 4924 St. Elmo Avenue, Bethesda, Maryland. Public Utility Public Utility Article Section 7-304B2 states that an energy allocation system may not be used for direct billing of energy costs to a tenant of an individual dwelling unit unless the Commission approves the system in accordance with this subsection. Comar 2026-0201 further specifies general approval criteria for an energy allocation system, namely, first, approval may be granted upon demonstration by the owner that the system results in a reasonable determination of the cost of energy used within dwelling unit. Second, testing and inspection of the energy allocation system may be required for the Commission to make such a determination. And third, testing and inspection of any furnace, appliance, or other equipment used in conjunction with the energy allocation system may be also required. St. Elmo Apartment LLC has contracted with Heftech LLC for an installation of an energy allocation system that will allow the owner of the apartment building to allocate to a tenant of an individual dwelling a portion of the cost electric energy consumed based on usage. St. Elmo Apartment LLC initial application contained all information required under Comar 20.26, and subsequent data request has given staff no causes of concern in regards to the system itself. The apartment building's construction is complete, and use of energy allocation system would comply with requirements under the relevant Comar provisions. Therefore, staff recommends that the Commission approve the energy allocation system for the 4924 St. Elmo Avenue apartment building located in Bethesda, Maryland. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from any of the commissioners? Okay, very well. Is there anybody else who wishes to speak to us on this matter? Seeing none, we'll proceed to a vote. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Hoover.
Aye.
Chairman votes aye. The motion carries unanimously. Item number 10, this is ITG Communications LLC, the filings for an application for authority to provide facilities-based local exchange telecommunications services in Maryland. That's the filing. The motion is to grant the company authority to provide facilities-based local exchange communication services in Maryland and grant the requested waivers of Comar 2045-02-3B, 2045-04-11, and 2045-04-1B. Staff.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Lily Tiska on behalf of staff. On August 15, 2025, ITG Communications LLC, or ITG, filed an application for authority to provide facilities-based local exchange telecommunication services in Maryland. The company states that it will provide local exchange, inter-exchange, intra-exchange services in Maryland. It adds that it will also provide intrastate special access telecommunication services consisting of point-to-point transmission services, which staff agrees qualify as exchange access services. All services ITG intends to offer would provide access to local exchange and exchange access facilities in Maryland and would thus qualify as local exchange telephone services and exchange access telephone services. As a result, ITG would qualify as a telephone company under Section 1-101 NN of the Public Utilities Article. The Commission has jurisdiction over the company because it intends to both own telephone lines to receive, transmit, or communicate local exchange and exchange access services, and because it intends to sell local exchange and exchange access telephone services. ITG proposes to market its services to other telecommunications carriers and communications providers, as well as large enterprise accounts. The company has no current plans to provide service to residential customers. ITG currently holds operating authority in Indiana, Ohio, and Oregon. As permitted by the Commission, the company requested waivers of COMAR regulations regarding the posting of tariffs for D-tariff services, publishing white pages, directories, and providing coin telephone service. The company satisfies the Commission's requirements for de-tariffing under Section 4-202C2 of the Public Utilities Article because it is certified that it will have fewer than 20,000 subscribers for its retail local exchange services. In addition, staff finds the company's services are similar to the high-capacity private line services in Verizon Maryland's Basket 5 competitive services and thus qualify as D-tariff services under the Commission's orders. As required for COMAR 20.45.02.03b Group C waivers, the company states that it will use Verizon Maryland's exchange boundaries. Accordingly, ITG does not need to file an additional exchange boundary map. Staff is satisfied that the company meets all requirements in the Commission's application for operating authority, and staff agrees that a grant of operating authority is in the public interest as it will create greater competition in the Maryland telecommunications market and expand access to a variety of telecommunications services in the state. Staff therefore recommends that the Commission grant the company authority to provide facilities-based local exchange telecommunications services in Maryland and grant the requested waivers of COMAR 20.45.02.03b, 20.45.04.11, and 20.45.05.01b. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Questions? There appear to be no questions. Is anyone else present who would like to speak on this? Apparently not. We'll proceed to a vote. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Hoover.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion the motion carries unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 11, Verizon Maryland LLC. These are updated access service tariff. The motion is to accept the updated tariff pages for filing. Staff.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Cameron Walton on behalf of staff. On January 13th, 2026, Verizon Maryland filed tariff pages proposing to sunset several access services to new customers only, effective February 25th, 2026. The applicable COMAR provision 2045-0413 requires advance notice when a utility discontinues local, residential, or business telephone service. The services at issue here are not local telephone services and are used only by a small number of business customers. Therefore, this COMAR provision does not apply to this filing. The services being sunset rely on outdated technology that no longer meets modern speed, security, or scalability needs, and more efficient and lower cost alternatives are widely available. Currently, only 10 business customers subscribe to these services, and no residential customers are affected. Although not required under COMAR, Verizon has already provided notice to existing customers and states it will give at least 90 days additional notice before any full discontinuation occurs. Therefore, staff recommends that the Commission accept the updated tariff pages for filing with an effective date of February 25th, 2026. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Seeing none, is Verizon here? Does anybody else want to comment? Apparently not. We will proceed then to a vote. Commissioner McLean.
Aye.
Commissioner Linton.
Aye.
Commissioner Suchman.
Aye.
Commissioner Hoover.
Aye.
Chair votes aye. The motion carries unanimously. Let's proceed to the last item before us, and that is Pepco and Delmarva Power and Light. These are revised Drive Act Time of Use Implementation Plan Class 9761, and we will begin with staff.
Good morning, Chair and Commissioners. David Hoppock on behalf of staff.
Okay.
In compliance with Order 91917, the PHI companies, Pepco and Delmarva, filed revised Drive Act Time of Use Implementation Plans. Staff recommends that the Commission accept the revised budget, incorporating staff's proposed reduction to the Pepco and Delmarva marketing budgets. Staff's revised marketing budget reflects a recommended reduction in marketing agency costs. Staff notes that OPC is effectively making the same recommendation regarding budgets. Additionally, staff recommends that the commission require Pepco and Delmarva to explain in detail the work performed by the new full-time employee and the EMNV consultant in a future base rate case, that Drive Act TOU costs be recovered through a regulatory asset, and that decisions regarding whether the regulatory asset should be included in rate base, earn a return, and an appropriate amortization period should be deferred for consideration in a future base rate case. Thank you, and I am available for questions.
Questions? Commissioner McLean.
Good morning, Mr. Hoppick. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
On your marketing reduction, I believe you recommended half of what the proposed budget is, sir?
So for the marketing reduction, I reduced by half the marketing agency costs.
Right.
So there was a total cost across the PHI companies of $405,000, I believe, and I reduced that by half using the same allocation for Delmarva and Pepco, and then set a total marketing budget reflecting that reduction.
Sure. Just wondering how you arrived at half as being the appropriate reduction, sir.
So there was a data request from OPC specifically asking what would be the consequences if there was no marketing agency budget and then a marketing agency budget of 100,000. And based on the response, they basically said they cannot conduct the marketing without the services of a marketing agency, and $100,000 was insufficient. So based on that, staff ended up at 50%. We also discussed the fact that there has been a previous marketing of the time of use rates. These are the rates that were the PC44 time of use rates. There was a previous marketing in 2023 that was conducted. The total costs across the PHI utilities was $52,000. They were directed to implement a low cost marketing, but part of the issue is that there are existing marketing materials. So there is kind of a base of materials to work off of. They don't have to create something from whole cloth.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Suchman.
Morning, Mr. Hoppick. Do you recall whether the BGE time of use proposal included a full-time employee and a consulting fee for the consultant?
Long story short, it did not. The costs were basically just the marketing costs. I did have a conversation with a BGE representative about the EM&V question and a budget for that, and they, paraphrasing, they didn't include costs, incremental costs to do EM&V in the budget presented. They just had marketing costs.
Okay. And then your recommended $398,000 budget, does that include the full-time employee and this EM&V consultant?
No. So there's the only part of the budget that staff recommended an adjustment to, and OPC is on the same page on this, is the marketing budget. So there is a new administrative position proposed that would basically oversee all things time of use for the PHI companies. Staff did not oppose that. I would note that in the previous marketing that I spoke about with Commissioner McLean. We generally had much lower acceptance. It was low across the board for the PHI companies relative to BGE. And having someone who's kind of in charge of this, staff, thinks that would likely be helpful in this, and trying to, maximize participation in the time of use rates. And then the EM&V costs, order, get the name right. I'm sorry. It is Order 91218, as well as the Drive Act itself requires this reporting by July 1st of this year, as well as October 1st of 2027. And it is what I would characterize as incremental and fairly in-depth reporting. So there's a requirement to evaluate the potential deferral of electric distribution system capital costs through time of use rates, demand response, demand side programs, and renewable on-site generation. So this is not something they currently do reporting for, and is far more in depth than the current reporting done within the PC44 time of use working group.
Okay, but just to be
and
clear,
so-
I guess
sorry.
I'm a little confused. So the 398,000 does include this new full-time employee and the consulting fee.
No, it does not. So,
Okay, so where is that reflected?
okay, so if you go to page 5 of the staff comments, there's two tables at the top. These are table 2 and table 3.
Okay.
They are from the PHI submittal. Do you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so the top two tables, utility admin is the new employee, and that's a new employee allocated across Pepco and Delmarva. The EM&V is the costs to do the reporting, which consists of the consulting costs. And then there are outside services costs, and then there are marketing costs. So the marketing costs, so Pepco in its filing proposed 550,000. Staff is recommending 398,750. And then looking down one, what's labeled table 3. Again, the only thing staff is recommending an adjustment to is the marketing budget. So Delmarva proposed 400,000. Staff is recommending a total of 348,750.
Okay, but you are not, so you're comfortable with the admin and the EM&V consulting costs?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And for BGE, in its proposal, did it also include a full-time employee? So you said they did not, a full-time employee and...
They solely included the marketing costs.
Okay.
There was not significant discussion of this forthcoming reporting, specifically the reporting that's required for July of this year and October of next year. So, I don't want to speak for BG&E, but the budget was just the marketing for BG&E.
Okay, so, I mean, we already approved that. Did we also approve a full-time admin and a consultant without knowing it? I guess I'm confused about what we're. I mean, here we have Pepco is asking for this funding. Did is BG not asking for it and they're able to just use in-house, or did they ask for it and we approved it? I'm confused.
So they only asked for a budget related to marketing. They did not include in their Drive Act time of use proposal additional incremental resources to administer and run all things time of use, or the forthcoming EM&V reporting. But the major focus of the filing was on the marketing and then the proposed changes to the time of use rates. So based on that, my understanding would be that they would likely use in-house resources. But that was less of a focus, I would say, in the BGE submittal.
Okay, so because that's it's a little chunk of change. It would be useful to know why BGE, assuming they're using in-house resources, thinks that they can accomplish this without having to expend additional resources to be able to do the very same thing.
Yeah, so as I said, I did have a conversation with them. Their previous marketing did go a lot better. They had on the order of 300 to 400 new enrollments, whereas for Pepco it was on the order of about 50. For Delmarva, it was in the single digits. So I would interpret that as they think that they have existing resources in place for utility administration. Again, when I talked about EM&V with them, I would characterize it as they didn't include additional resources. But again, I didn't get a strong indication of how they would go about the specific reporting requirements for order, I'm forgetting the number of the order, 91218. But based on what they submitted, I think they intend to conduct it in-house. Again, staff notes that this is very different reporting than is currently being done for the time of use rates, and specifically looking across basically different options for peak shaving.
Right, but presumably BGE and Pepco will be doing the same kind of analysis. And I'd like to know why BGE thinks it can do it in-house and Pepco thinks it can't.
So one issue that was raised in the OPC filing was uniformity in metrics and mechanisms to look at these EM&V questions, so specifically the reporting for July. So staff has been in contact with OPC about this question, and we are going to have some time at today's Energy Analysis Group working group meeting to basically raise this issue and ask for feedback specifically on the forthcoming EM&V reporting. I would say that staff thinks that in order for the July 1 reporting, which again is looking at demand response, demand side management, time of use, and distributed renewables, it would be very useful if there was a common set of metrics or methods used to look at that. And then also kind of a comparison, like what works best, practical considerations for time of use versus demand response and so forth.
Well, that is part of the point of having a report, so I agree with you. Having common metrics would be very helpful.
Yeah, so we are going to raise that and ask for feedback later today. The order and what's in the PUA simply state that that the analysis has to be done. It doesn't really get into that issue of metrics and what specifically would be useful for doing the analysis. So again, we're trying to be cognizant of that issue and try and get to some agreement, or at least understand what the parties believe can and they plan to do on this, such that it does produce useful reporting.
Right, and perhaps doing all of that with in-house staff rather than having to hire more people and engaging in more consultants. And perhaps the company can explain to me why BGE can do it in-house, assuming that that's what's happening, and they can't. So that's all I have, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Commissioner Linton, any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I did have one very quick one for the staff. Good morning, Mr. Hoppick.
Mr. Linton?
The staff has recommended under the question of cost recovery that we effectively treat PHI companies similarly to the way we did with BGE. Is that fair to say?
Correct. Yes. We are giving you the same recommendation that we made in our initial Drive Act comments regarding time of use cost recovery, and that Order 91917 adopted. So we're basically saying we recommend for cost recovery the same thing that you approved for BGE for the PHI companies.
Okay, so the PHI companies did propose or did state a few, I'll just say statements or arguments, why their request should be treated differently. Are those, the staff considered those, of course, were any of those influential or persuasive in any way?
Well, I think the question of what is deserving of return as a rate-based asset and what is not, you need to look at what money was actually spent on what. And, for example, the marketing budget goes through the different actions that the companies are likely to pursue, but they haven't nailed down final plans. So, staff thinks that the time to look at specific issues of return and amortization is once we have, the actual what happened cost data.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Hoover, do you have any questions?
None for staff.
Okay, terrific. I don't have any questions either, so we will move to People's Council. Welcome.
Thank you, Chair Barve. Good morning, Chair Barve, Commissioners. Isaac Lindenbaum on behalf of the Office of People's Council. Before I briefly summarize what was included in our comments on PHI's filing, I'd like to touch on some of the questions from Commissioner Suchman. And Commissioner Suchman, you're right that PHI requests this additional evaluation funding, which is different from BGE. But from OPC's perspective, the problem with that request was when we asked PHI what would be included in this July report, what type of analysis or report will this additional funding go towards, the responses we got from PHI lacked any clear detail or any clear outcome. So, for example, PHI said that its July report required under the Drive Act wouldn't include a comparison of the utility's time of use rates compared to its demand response and demand side programs. And it also said it hadn't determined yet whether or not there would be a BCA included as part of its July report. So if those things are not going to be a part of the July Drive Act report, then it begs the question of what is the funding for the additional EM&V budget going towards. So that's just an initial point that will hopefully answer some of your questions. But briefly, I'd also like to summarize some of the other points that we make in our comments. So first, we recommend reducing PHI's marketing agency budget to approximately $200,000, which also aligns with staff and what Mr. Hoppick discussed previously. Second, we also recommend the Commission direct the PHI companies and other participating Drive Act utilities by separate order, if necessary, to assess the cost effectiveness and load reduction potential across the utilities' demand response and demand side management programs, including the utilities' peak time rebates and direct load control programs as applicable. Third, we recommend the Commission authorize each of the PHI companies to establish a regulatory asset for costs related to the implementation of time of use rates, but defer any decisions on cost recovery to each of the PHI companies' next base rate cases. And fourth, we recommend that the Commission direct PHI to ensure its marketing and outreach materials disclose that customers provide the funding for the PHI companies' time of use rates and the costs associated with implementing those rates. I'd also like to highlight a few additional points on our recommendation that the PHI companies' July Drive Act reports assess the PHI's companies' demand response and demand side management programs. The Drive Act, codified at PUA Section 71003, requires the utilities to submit a report to the Commission by July 1st, 2026, detailing the potential to avoid or defer electric distribution system capital projects through time of use rates, demand response, and demand side programs, and renewable on-site generating systems. The Public Utilities article also requires utilities to evaluate the merits and feasibility of transitioning all customers to a TOU tariff on an opt-out basis. And as I discussed previously, when asked through discovery whether the PHI company's July report would compare the effectiveness of their TOU rates relative to the company's direct load control and peak energy savings programs, the company stated that it would not compare the effectiveness of these programs in its July report, and stated that it had not determined yet whether BCA would be included as part of that report. OPC's recommendations on page 8 of our comments make clear that the utilities' July Drive Act report should include a comparison of these programs and address whether these programs could be used to defer distribution system investments as well as avoid wholesale market costs. OPC's consultant on this matter, Melissa Whitehead with Synapse Economics, was unable to attend the admin meeting this morning, unfortunately. However, she will be joining the Empower Workgroup meeting this afternoon to provide some of the details and justifications for the technical metrics that we believe should be used as common evaluation criteria across these various programs. And so with that, I'm available for any questions from the Commission.
Okay, thank you. We'll start with Commissioner Linton. Do you have any questions?
No questions, Mr. Chairman.
Suchman, any questions?
No questions.
Commissioner Hoover, any questions?
None for me.
Okay, McLean?
No, sir.
Okay, your lucky day. No questions from anybody. Let's call up the PHI companies.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and Commissioners. Matthew Seegers appearing for Pepco and Delmarva Power. I think it's worth just to start off by saying that in reviewing the revised proposal from the PHI companies, it's important to remember what the purpose of the Drive Act is. Through the Drive Act, what the state of Maryland is committed to investing in is customer education and incentives programs to reduce customer load and lower system costs for all customers. One method of doing this, of course, is through the use of time of use rates, which incentivizes customers to reduce usage at peak grid usage times. Now, given that the goal of the Drive Act is reduce customer load, greater customer TOU enrollment will have a greater impact on achieving these goals. Now, the PHI companies, we approached the design of this rate with this in mind, and we set enrollment targets that are aggressive and that we support the program management, including a marketing program that is designed to support those targets based on market research for tactics employed that we've seen in other jurisdictions. Now, key to the proposed marketing program is the need for customer education and multiple touch points with customers in order to get customers to enroll and to stay on the time of use rates. And these are lessons that we learned from our prior time of use pilot that Mr. Hopick alluded to. Now, as we've discussed, both staff and OPC, they propose to reduce the marketing budget for the PHI companies. And it's worth noting that any reduction in our marketing budget is going to make it that much harder to achieve the ambitious goals that we have set out for recruiting customers. So there's that point right there. Now, in response to OPC's comments regarding the statutory language regarding the reporting on the potential to avoid or defer electric distribution capital projects through demand response and demand side programs, I want to make it clear that the PHI companies are going to comply with the Drive Act statute. We acknowledge the requirement that, and we will, in our July 1st, 2026 report, include an evaluation of our direct load control programs and other similar programs. However, it's worth noting that in OPC's comments, they talk about our peak time rebate programs. In a filing that we submitted yesterday in the Empower proceeding, in case number 9705, the PHI companies, we actually recommended formally closing the dynamic pricing program in both Delmarva Power Maryland and in Pepco Maryland. So there is currently no budget for these programs, and the company has not operated them in several years. And we do not plan on administering it. Therefore, it would not make any sense, in our opinion, to include this particular program in our July 1st, 2026 filing that we are proposing to discontinue. The PHI companies have no objection to staff's recommendation that the PHI companies detail in a future base rate case the work performed by the new full-time employee and the EM&V consultant. Regarding cost recovery, the PHI companies should at the very least be accorded the same treatment that was accorded to BGE. And finally, regarding the marketing of our outreach materials to customers from OPC, we certainly don't have any objection to being transparent with customers about where their dollars are going. However, we have two concerns with OPC's specific proposal. The first of which is that if this requirement is going to be imposed by this commission, it should be applied to all utilities. It should not be just on the PHI companies. And secondly, on the one hand, OPC is saying that our costs should be placed into a regulatory asset to be addressed in a future rate case. But on the other hand, they want us to include language on our marketing materials that customer dollars are currently are paying for those marketing materials. But until this commission approves our ability to recover the amounts that are placed into that regulatory asset, that's actually not true. The customers are not paying for them. So at the very least, I would urge this commission to hold off on any such requirement until it has actually approved the recovery of such amounts from customers. With that, I and some members from our team are available for questions.
Very good, thank you. Questions, Commissioner Suchman, start with you.
Well, good morning, Mr. Seegers.
Good morning, Your Honor.
So, are you aware of whether BGE is going to require a full-time employee and a paid consultant to be able to implement the requirements of the Drive Act?
Unfortunately, I cannot speak on behalf of BGE, Your Honor. I do not know why they structured their filing the way that we did. What I can say is that we looked at what we thought was going to be necessary in order to meet these ambitious goals that we have set out. And as Mr. Hopick indicated during his discussion, one of our lessons learned from the prior use of time of use rates in that pilot was that we thought we would have more, a much better chance of getting more customers onto the rate if we had a full-time employee who was dedicated just to that program. So I can speak to how I and my team can speak to how we approach our proposal, but unfortunately I can't speak for how BGE structured theirs, Your Honor.
So, I mean, this is kind of, the concern I have is that every time we have a new tariff, we have a new rate. I mean, are you going to expect a new full-time employee for that? I mean, I guess I'm not really understanding why why time of use rates would merit a full-time employee. And maybe someone can explain that to me. I mean, you know, there are lots of new rates that go into effect. We're not asked to allow you to hire another employee to affect another rate. So if you could explain to me why you need a full-time employee to implement time of use rates.
Sure, I'm going to actually bring up Ms. Kaja Dana, one of our subject matter experts.
Okay,
who
thank
can
you.
hopefully answer your question.
Good morning, Kasia Dana, Senior Manager Rates Team for PHI Maryland and DC jurisdictions. So I would like to stress that we are committed to make this TOU program successful, but we are also committed to using resources efficiently. However, we see the need that whenever in this case, when we don't have administration for a program, we really don't see results. Right? We want to make this program successful. We also are structured differently than BGE. We have a few jurisdictions in our purview. There's a lot of new incremental requirements and work that needs to be done, including EM&B reporting, and we really want to make it successful and give it the best shot. So we think that utility admin is required. We will be looking for ways to streamline across other programs, right? So if we have another program that crosses over with the same objectives, let's call it EVTOU, we will be trying to share resource, right, and make sure we are efficient. But right now, we just see that whenever we don't have this type of function, there's a lot of
you have to go into a little more detail. I mean, tell me, you want a full-time employee to just take care of time of use rates. So tell me what that full-time employee is going to be doing.
Okay. So there's a lot of activities to connect different teams, right, involved in the company, billing team, teams that are responsible for maintaining my account and making sure that the tools are available to customer, enrollment of new customers onto the rate, responding to all customer inquiries, making sure that the call center has appropriate support to respond to all the questions. There's also a lot of coordination and with rates team specifically, my team, right, on rate design, making sure that customer insights are shared across, that there are adjustments needed that are being made and considered. There's already reporting required, so that's another function of this FTE. There's coordination with marketing team that will require development of materials, making sure that the materials that we maybe are starting off of from the pilot are updated to the reality we are living in right now. Right? We are in a different market than several years ago. We have to make sure we're responding to what PHI customer base needs to. We have much more diverse, customer base compared to BGE, with Delmarva Power totally different than Pepco. And we really have to coordinate a lot of efforts.
I guess that this all sounds like the kind of thing that you would have to do anytime there's a change in approach. You have the resources. Do you not have nimble resources that can respond to new requirements? I guess I'm really mindful of the very high costs that our ratepayers are looking at, and I just don't understand why you don't have the resources to be able to do the things that you need to do to put a rate in, that you don't need to have to hire more people and retain a consultant. I don't want to micromanage, but it just seems to me, where your sister utility that has its own set of challenges can do this without having to bring on a new FTE and a new consultant. They can make that happen. I guess I don't understand why you can't make that happen.
I will just say that there's still difference between our utilities, even though LPG is our sister utility,
Well,
right? We are structured differently.
Well, I understand that, but different, like it makes it harder to do it, or just different?
It's different. We handle 3 jurisdictions compared to one jurisdiction, and activities that we would like this utility admin FTE handle are in majority incremental, but also are improvement to what has been done to date, which didn't result in the enrollment we would all like to see.
Okay, I wanted to ask about the July study. Are you going to be responsible for that? The preparation of that?
Our team will be responsible.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. So, what do you think is the purpose of that study?
The EM&V study is to, I think, assess ability to defer capital projects due to peak reduction.
Okay, and do you think it's also intended to look to see how this program is doing in comparison to other programs that are also trying to reduce load and reduce peak?
So I think that's one way, right? We have a very small TOU program right now in place, so it will be hard to assess only based on that program. But I think it was already said. I think additional guidance and what should be in the report will be needed. We anticipated to discuss this in PC 44 rate design group to get into details.
Okay, so that's the group you're going to be meeting with this afternoon.
I think that's a different work group. The PC 44 rate design is the one that has been handling TOU since the pilot.
Okay, so so do you need more guidance from us about what needs to be in that July report, or is that going to be coming out of this work group?
I anticipated this would be a discussion in the work group and a proposal to the commission.
Okay, because it seems to me that the report is actually important for us to see how time of use is doing, and how it's doing in relationship to some of our other programs that are intended to try to reduce load and to reduce peak.
Well,
And so that's so to the extent you need more guidance from us, we need to know that.
Right. I think any guidance from the commission on specific things you would like to see there is always welcome. But I think work group can also work through that and align on requirements.
Okay. Well, are you seeking that guidance through the proposal you've made today, or are you expecting guidance later in the process? I guess I'm sort of asking in terms of just timing.
I think we considered more venue for that at PC 44.
Okay.
Design work group.
All right. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Hoover, any questions? Oh, you're muted. Commissioner Hoover, you're muted.
Yeah. No, actually, I'm back on.
Okay.
So I do have a question, and I noticed in staff's comments on page 4, they said that PEPCO had currently 19 new enrollments and DPL had 5. And then later on in the comments on page 11, you talk about these enrollment targets of 11,000 for PEPCO and 3,000 for DPL. I guess my question is, how do you expect to get to those, what I view as pretty aggressive targets, given the past history of the enrollments?
Right. I mean, our targets are aggressive, right, in line with Drive Act intent. We design our program to give it best chance to reach those aggressive goals. I think education marketing budget is very important component to achieve that, and that's how we design the program and the budget we proposed.
And Commissioner Hoover, just to add on to that, we felt that this was also in line with the commission's your drive order, where on the VPP side of things, the commission, I think, was pretty clear that we were not ambitious enough. So that's why we're trying to do as much as we possibly can.
Okay, I understand that, and I think we share this view that the Drive Act is an important part of fixing a lot of problems with the energy situation overall in the state. So I just want to make sure that you're not setting yourselves up for failure by trying to be overly aggressive on these targets. And I want some assurance that being aggressive is great, but being realistic is part of it too.
Well, and that's why we structured our marketing budget the way that we did, Your Honor. If a reduced marketing budget is approved, I mean, we still may be able to hit those targets, but as I indicated, it is going to be that much harder.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Commissioner McClain.
Thank you, sir. Good morning, Mr. Seegers.
Good morning, Commissioner.
You referenced 9705 in
Yes.
your recommendation of closing dynamic pricing in response to Mr. Linderbaum's question about the July 1st, 2026 reporting.
Mhm.
Was that the only item where there was a difference between what PHI believes is required on that report versus what OPC was thinking?
I'm not going to speak for Mr. Lindenbaum, but in his comments, they do also recommend the evaluation of our direct load control programs, and we do agree that the statute does include those, so we're going to include those as well, and other similar programs. But they did also specifically mention the peak time rebates program, so I did want to point out that those basically are going to be discontinued.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you guys were on the same page. Sounds like maybe you are, but okay.
I don't think we are on the same page on that. I think Mr. Seeger said they're basically going to be discontinued. I don't think that's the case. I think the commission still has to rule and decide on that request. And though under the Drive Act statute, I could read the statutory language now, the statute requires the utilities to submit a report in July that looks at those programs. And this 71003C, on or before July 1, each investor-owned electric company shall submit a report to the commission evaluating the potential to avoid or defer electric distribution system capital projects through the use of time-of-use rates, demand response and demand-side programs, and renewable on-site generating systems. And so that statutory language is very clear and contradicts what Mr. Seegers just provided.
Okay, all right, thank you, sir. And actually, Mr. Seegers, I don't know if you want to respond to that, or I've got one more question for you, but.
Sure. No, it's just that I'm reading the same statute that Mr. Lindenbaum said, and I do not see any mention of our the peak time savings programs. I see demand response and demand side programs without really any specificity. But again, we do not see why we should include a program that is again, the commission has to approve the discontinuance, but as of right now, it has no budget and has not been activated for a number of years. So I guess we're not on the same page on that, Your Honor. So.
Well, it sounds like it'd be a pretty easy report then, right? Just to throw that in there, assuming that's the case. No
Well,
budget, no.
Well, how would we evaluate that, though, Your Honor? I mean,
Right.
it raises that question. Plus, it also raises question of a big reason why it's not being going forward is because we're not able to bid the savings into the PJM market anymore. So if we're not able to do that, how do you deal with cost recovery? It kind of opens a can of worms that we just don't think is necessary, Your Honor.
Understood. In terms of the marketing campaign in 2023, sir, for the time use, did PHI use a consultant or need to get another employee to support that program, sir, if you know?
I'm going to bring up our marketing folks. They'll throw something at me if I get it wrong. In terms of the full-time employee, Your Honor, I believe the answer is no. And as I said before, that is a lesson that we are taking as learned from the prior pilot.
Okay.
So.
Hi, good morning. My name's Megan Clark. I'm one of the marketing managers at Pepco Holdings. I was not around during the time of the pilot program, but during that time we did have agency support as well, similar to what we're recommending for this filing today.
Okay, so when you say agency support, you're meaning like consultant?
It's not
Or-
a consultant per
okay.
se, but it's an advertising and a marketing agency. So within PHI, we do not have in-house resources to do creative development, the execution of the paid media buy, those sorts of things. And so the agency at that time, and also what we're recommending, would do those kinds of activities.
All right, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I have a couple of quick questions. Actually, let me first for Mr. Lindenbaum. In your testimony, you stated that PHI was not going to do a benefit cost analysis. Would you recap what it is that you said there in your testimony?
Yeah, so as part of the July 2026 report, PHI indicated that it hadn't determined whether or not it would include a benefit cost analysis as part of the July report. And it also said that it would not evaluate demand response and demand side programs relative to its time of use rate. And I will also add, Chair Barve, that the July report could be useful to the questions being asked in 9705. And that's another reason why that we think the July report should include evaluations of the demand side programs and demand response programs.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Seegers, would you care to address that?
Sure. In terms just to take the first part first, in terms of the cost benefit analysis, as Mr. Hoppick indicated, we're still trying to we're still working through exactly how these programs are going to be evaluated in the report. So that is why our answer was what it was, is that we don't know, if this is going to include a cost benefit analysis. And that's something that should not be exclusive just to the PHI companies. That should be the same for all utilities. I believe there was concern expressed earlier in this hearing about wanting as consistent metrics as possible. And then regarding the inclusion of the direct load control programs, as I indicated, we acknowledge that the statute, it does specifically reference the demand response and demand side programs, and so we are going to include those in our July report. Again, we have a difference of opinion on the peak time on the savings program. So if that's
Okay, but I mean, okay, I understand your response, but let me say this. I mean, it seems to me that we would benefit at some point, perhaps in the future, of a benefit cost analysis to discern whether, if we were to go ahead with the budget plans that you propose, I'm not saying we will, but if we were to do that, can you concede that at some point it would be beneficial to do a BCA to look at the benefits to the system versus the increased cost?
I think that would be useful at some point, Your Honor, and that's one of the things I think that will hopefully come out of the work group meeting, is about how we're going to go about doing that.
Okay, and just one minor final question. It's been said by one of your team, I'm forgetting her name, that you have a more diverse customer base than BGE. I think I heard that. I'm curious to know how would that be?
I think that was Ms. Dana, and
Yeah.
I believe what she was referring to is that we have multiple jurisdictions. I don't think she meant to say that our customers are more diverse. I'm going to.
It's a minor thing. It piqued my interest.
What I meant is the customer base, right? Delmarva Power, more rural areas, Pepco, more urban. So there's just different approach, right, we would take to address the needs and to educate on the benefits of the program.
I suspected you meant that. I just happen to know several people in the BGE service area who live in the middle of nowhere, so I thought of it as being similar. It's not a big deal, though. All right. Well, thank you very much. Forgive me, Commissioner Linton.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I had a question actually for Mr. Seegers and for Mr. Lindenbaum. I can start with Mr. Seegers. Good morning.
Good morning, Your Honor.
You stated earlier that on the issue of cost recovery, I'm sure you heard my questions to Mr. Hoppick. You stated earlier that PHI should at least be treated the same way as BGE was treated.
Correct.
That's not quite what was stated in your original filing. So should we just say that as long as we're treating you at least the same way as BGE is treated, we're good?
Would the companies be thrilled? I'm not sure if I can go quite that far, Your Honor, but I do believe that would be a legally acceptable outcome, yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I have one other question, and it was raised by Mr. Lindenbaum in his earlier comments regarding issuing separate orders for both Pepco and Delmarva. I hadn't really seen that and I don't, maybe it was stated somewhere in the filings and I just missed it, but what's your reaction to that?
Well, and I don't want to speak for Mr. Lindenbaum. I think what he was saying is that if you're going to issue an order, this is on the reporting, Your Honor, on the July 1st reporting.
Well,
that
this is
what
what I
you're
mean.
referring to?
It wasn't stated clearly, so I was going to ask Mr. Lindenbaum, but you were still there, so I figured I'd ask you first.
I think, okay, I'm not going to speak for Mr. Lindenbaum. I'll let him.
Okay, good. All right.
I think the point was just that the PHI companies are two separate companies. If that's, I don't recall exactly what question you're referencing, or what point you're referencing, but yeah.
Juliana Bell, Deputy Counsel. That phrase is my fault, so I thought I'd come and answer the question. I think what that was referring to, Commissioner Linton, is that as part of the comments, we were suggesting some metrics that apply to all the EDCs, all utilities, not just the PHI companies. And in the past, the Commission has advised us to be careful about getting into an Administrative Procedure Act problem when we embed something in an order that is intended to apply to all utilities, but the order is only in response to a PHI motion.
Yeah.
So to the extent that that our request is addressed to all EDCs, the Commission might want to consider issuing a separate order so that other utilities are also alerted.
Okay.
That's all that was referring to.
Thank you. I appreciate the clarification. And so for purposes of this proceeding, you're not suggesting that we need to issue two separate. Okay, I see. For the record, it was a no shaking of head. So thank you.
And that's how we interpret it as well, Your Honor.
Okay, good. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, unless there are any further questions, we're going to take this matter under advisement. And one last thing, I just wanted to introduce 3 new staff attorneys. They are part of the 2026 hiring blitz, and we're very lucky to have them. Chana Wilkerson, Ricky Gratz, and Matthew Hall. Chana was former assistant staff counsel and a former deputy staff counsel throughout her career. She's focused on telecommunications law and legal technology. She is returning to the staff counsel division after being employed with companies like MCI, the University of Miami Law School, and the Maryland Office of People's Counsel for the last 17 years, and also the Federal Communications Commission. So, Chana, if you're there or somewhere in the Ethernet, there you are. Welcome back to the team. Ricky is a Baltimore native, and he got his bachelor's degree from the Columbia University and the Jewish Theological Seminary. He's a 2006 graduate of the University of Baltimore Law School. He was an assistant people's counsel from 2008 to 2012, and then he went to work for a company, O-Power, and subsequently Oracle and some other companies. He was working on the demand side in various sales roles as well. Staff is we are all happy to welcome him back to the regulatory side of legal practice. And Matthew Hall, originally from California, is a graduate of the University of Southern California with a bachelor's degree in business. He had a cum laude. He was a cum laude graduate from Northwestern University Law School with concentrations in business and environmental law. He clerked for 2 years with the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Seventh Circuit. After that, Matthew worked for the EPA in their administrative law division. We welcome you as well. So to all of you, welcome to the team. You're really terrific people. We're really happy to have you. So. And with